control our lives. My name is Coach Kohn, and let's do it. Top of the day, beautiful people. Let's start our conversation here. What if the life we're all collectively living right now isn't because of what they are doing to us, but it is because of what we believe? Just imagine for a second that the forces of influence have been using our own creative power to create outcomes that we didn't even consciously choose. What I'm proposing here is maybe that the minority that controls the influence of this world and controls the happening in the world, maybe they really don't have the power. But their true power is controlling what we believe. Because by controlling what we believe, you can use our power to make us create the outcome that we unconsciously do not desire. Happy healing to you, Renee. Renee, congratulations on your enrollment or your re-enrollment into the 90-day Trauma to Triumph Healing Challenge. So glad to have you on board. Looking forward to this experience with you. Soul Child Sanctuary, or Social Sanctuary, I'm sorry. Happy healing to you. Welcome to the conversation. Sophia, happy healing to you. Everyone else that I missed, happy healing to you. Welcome to the conversation. All right, let's get to work. Maybe that thought that I just offered to you all, that maybe we are all being used so that we are controlling the outcome that we don't even desire, maybe that thought is a little too far-fetched or a little wide for you to grasp. So let me try this. What if the life that you're living right now isn't because of what happened to you, but because of the story you've been telling about it? What if you've been unconsciously using your own creative power to repeat outcomes that reflect a belief you didn't even consciously choose? Because here's the truth: you're not just living by the narrative of what happened to you, you're living by the narrative that you tell. I oftentimes use the phrase creative faculties. And I want to take a few steps back and slow down and talk about what that is. And then you'll understand how it is your creative faculties being used to create the reality that many of us desire change from. What are your creative faculties? Your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And whether you realize it or not, what you believe is directing your thoughts, your words, and your actions. So every time you have a thought, every time you speak a thing, or every time you act from a limiting belief, like I'm always left behind, I never get picked, or bad things always happen to me, or no one truly loves me, or nobody's gonna love me for me, or I am not lovable, whatever that is, it's safer if I don't try. You're not just repeating the story, you're building it all over again, brick by brick. Your narrative directs your thoughts, your words, your actions. But even further than that, what you believe directs and controls your filter. It controls your lens. It controls the way that you see things. It controls the evidence that you see out in the world. Every narrative comes with instructions. Pay attention to this. This is critical. Every story that you tell yourself has built into it instructions. What do you mean, coach? Every story you've been telling yourself comes with instructions, and you've been following them without realizing that you wrote them. Hold on to that thought for a second. You wrote the instructions for how to respond to pain, to love, to challenge, to risk, to adversity. You might have written them at the age of 6, 10, 12, whenever you experienced those traumatic events in your life. But from those events, you made statements like, I don't deserve, or I am not worthy of, or even in your adult life, many of us don't realize when we make statements like, I will never allow X, Y, and Z, or I will never put myself in X. You are making statements that will ultimately start to dictate and control how you live your life. Because every narrative has instructions in it on how to respond to a similar situation later on in your life. So if you tell yourself that, let's build, we'll get there. So let's imagine what your narrative is. Think of your narrative, or think of the story that you tell yourself about your experiences. Think of it as the user manual your subconscious pulls out every time something difficult happens. Think about your story or your narrative or the way that you describe your past or the way that you talk about your past as the user manual that your subconscious mind pulls out every time something difficult happens. If you can imagine that, think about it. If you don't get a text back from somebody, your subconscious mind flips over to page 34. I didn't get a text. Assume that they have a problem with me. Assume that me and that person have an issue, instead of just realizing that maybe they got caught up. If something feels too good, I learn not to trust it because it won't last. That's right out of page 57, based on how I tell my story. If I succeed at something, I assume that something bad is going to happen next. That's right out of page 88, based on how I tell my story. These are the things that I say about my life. These are the things that I say about myself. Kira, happy healing to you and welcome to the conversation. Caustic, happy healing to you. Kids, new tattoo, happy healing to you. Kawana, happy healing to you. Let's keep working. Your story becomes the user manual that your subconscious mind automatically pulls from whenever difficult things happen without your concession, without your approval. It doesn't need it. Your story becomes the automatic line. And what do? You keep following the script. And the script keeps delivering the same ending for you. Can I tell you a secret? If it is your narrative or the way that you talk about or the way that you perceive or the way that you hold your past experiences, if it is your narrative that is dictating the outcome, then who's been the author this entire time? Who's been the author this entire time? And if you've been the author this entire time, then who has the power to rewrite the script? That's the connection between accountability and outcome. Many of us do not want to accept that I have been writing the reality that I have been living this entire time by the way that I perceive the things that they did to me. I've been thinking that it's what they did to me that has been dictating my reality. But in fact, it has been the way that I have been holding on to what they did to me, the way I have been interpreting what they did to me, the way I have been telling the story of what they did to me. That is where the power has lied. And if I am willing to be accountable to see that it is the way I have perceived my experiences that has been the dictator of my outcomes, then in that accountability, I also then take the pen of authorship, which says that I can rewrite what it's been. Does that make sense to you all? Joe, I love that response, right? Joe says, Coach, this is so hard. Every time I rewrite the narrative, something currently happens. Joe, I think one of the things that many of us forget in our lives is, or not even forget, we have been conditioned to believe that the ideal life is one that comes without adversity. We have been conditioned to believe that the ideal life of a healed person is a life that comes without triggers, that comes without outcomes that we don't desire. That is not the ideal life. That is the setup for us to continue to experience life as if we are not in control. The ideal life is me responding to everything that happened in a way which dictates that my contribution in my response dictate the outcome, which means adversity is going to happen. Things are going to go outside of the way that I expect them to go. Ideally, that's how life happens. Because the unknown, the change, the ups and the downs, those are the things that make up life. Without the ups and the downs and the changes and the adversity, we wouldn't know what life is. Our role is not to control the up and down, the changes, the adversity. That's what we've been conditioned to think. If I can just stop things from going wrong in my life would be great. You can't stop things from going wrong per se. What you need to know is no matter what happens, everything that happens in my life is just material. No matter what happens, the other side of it is just material, and I can create beauty from it. Even the worst of situations. I would even offer you that on the other side of what we believe death is, there is beauty. That's why so many of us live a life in constant fear and anxiety is from the fear of death. As if you know someone who's been there and has come back and reported to you that it is truly dark and horrific. But we've just been conditioned to believe that so we can live a life that is stagnant and held within a sense of a prison. I'll tell you this quick story about life and death and what we believe life is after death, and then we'll get back to this teaching. I heard this somewhere, and I've just been playing with it as I've been sharing it with the community. There are two babies that are in the womb, and the one baby turns to the other one, and he says, or she says, do you think there's life after birth? And the one baby says, oh my God, we're not going to go through this again, are we? Come on, you're not back talking about this again. What do you mean life after birth? There is no life after birth, man. Life is just here in the womb. You live in the womb, you experience here in the womb, and then that's it, man. Why are you so fascinated with this idea of life after birth? And the one baby goes, I don't know, man. I don't think mother would have us here for 9 months and then there just be nothing after this. And then the other baby goes, are you back to this mother talk again? You really believe that their mother exists? There really is a mother? And the baby goes, you might be right. But what if mother is always with us and we are always connected to mother and we're never disconnected to mother? And this entire time that we're here, this is just a temporary stage until we get to the next stage of this evolution. And the one baby says, that's it, man. I'm done hearing about this. And the conversation is over. Not very different from our conversations. Do you think that there's life after death? Do you think that God, Source, the Creator, is with us? Do you think we're just here existing and floating for no reason? And we fear what comes afterwards as if this existence that we know is all that there is, and our fear of the unknown keeps us imprisoned in the now. The moment that you can start accepting in your life that I don't know is still a peaceful place for you to exist, because the outcome is still material on the other end of what I don't know. And no matter what those materials are, I can create beauty from it. That's what makes you the co-creator that holds that essence of consciousness. Let's get back to work. If you are indeed the author and you have always been the author, then you can rewrite the script. And this is what separates those who stay stuck from those who heal. Healing is not about making it poof, go away. Healing is not about never having to face adversity again. Healing is not about never having to face my triggers again, but it's about changing what it means. And it's about being prepared with the tools when adversity happens. Being prepared with the knowledge that my emotions are giving me information and they are actually energy and not directions. So whenever I am triggered, I don't react out of that trigger, but I can stop, pause, assess my emotional information, and then respond in a way that serves my long-term best interest. Because healing is not about denying what happened. It's about changing what it means to me. It's about reframing the moment and taking back the authorship of that moment. See, many of us see the thing that happened, whether it was the abuse, the assault, the neglect, the lack of love, the lack of care, the lack of nourishment. You see those things have happened to you, and because they happened to you, you then derive a story about what you deserve, what you can have, what you can be, what your life is supposed to be, and where your life can go. And in that story is where your continuing pain resides, not in what happened to you. See, what happened to you is here. Your story holds all of these 5 elements. And what are the 5 elements of how trauma is stored? There is the version of you, and I mean every bit of that version of you, however old you were, the things that you believed, the things that you thought, the way that you saw the people at that time. There is that version of you. Then there is the event, the thing, the trauma, whatever it was, the abuse, the neglect. Then there is the emotion that you derive because that thing happened to you. Then there's the energetic expression of that emotion. Your frequency, your energy, your vibration, your attitude, the way that you express those feelings. And then there's the sentiments towards the person, the persons, or the relationship that was involved. When you take back authorship, you reframe that event from happening to you to being an event that gives you strength. And I'm about to give you all some example of reframes that will change somebody's life. Reframing is saying that my heartbreak wasn't my failure, it was my awakening. The silence in my home or the silence in my solitude taught me to hear my own voice. It wasn't a sense of loneliness because nobody loved me or cared for me. What broke me open gave me room to rebuild. Those are the essence of reframing. It's not just positive thinking. Is creative sovereignty. Reframing is saying that what happened to me does not write the story of what my life has to be. See, until you reframe your experiences, they happen to you. And the story that comes from what happened to you is based on however you thought or felt at the time that it happened to you. That's the disconnect that leaves many of us stuck, is that in your conscious mind today, you know that you are greater, better, and more than whatever this event has been telling you. But the problem is the story comes from the version of you that went through the experience. And that version of you still believes everything from the perspective of you having gone through it. And reframing is you taking that authorship and saying, I am going to determine what these experiences mean to my life. Whether they were negative, whether they were missing something, whether I didn't receive something, whether they neglected me, they abused me, whatever happened, I can determine what that means to my life. That is the power of reframing. It's using your power as the narrator to create meaning that sets you free instead of keeping you bound. That's why reframing, it's the core principle of our trauma to triumph healing methodology. Because reframing is the moment that you say, no more. Reframing is the moment that you say, those that abused me cannot write my future anymore. The abuse can no longer be the tools by which I write my future with. Let me give you all some real life applications of reframing so that you can truly understand the powers of it. Let's walk through some common internal stories and rewrite them with truth, compassion, and power. For many of you in your relationships, you may have a narrative or story based on your experiences that sounds something like this. I always attract toxic people. There must be something wrong with me. I always seem to attract people who don't truly love me or value me. There must be something wrong with me. I must not be lovable. Whatever variation of that old narrative that you have been telling, I want you to hold on to this new truth. I may have been drawn to what felt familiar, not what was safe. And now I see that and I get to choose differently. Whew. Wait. You mean I don't have to continue to stop myself and beat myself up for having made the same poor decisions, for having found myself in the same poor relationship? You mean I don't have to negate accountability in order for me to make progress? No, I can be accountable and still not have to be a victim to the thing, nor have to be a victim to my own punishment. Many of us continue to punish ourselves with the story, with the narrative. Christina, happy healing to you and welcome to the conversation. Christina says, reframing changed everything for me, using my tools daily. Christina completed our Trauma to Triumph Healing Challenge for the January's group. So proud of that group and everything that they were able to accomplish collectively and just the bond that they were able to build, and looking forward to the April group and what we're building as well. So Christina, happy healing to you and welcome to the conversation as always. Again, if you're in that relationship space, you may have an old narrative that says, everyone leaves me, I must not be worth staying for. Every relationship that I have ends the same way. It must be something inherently wrong with me. I must be the reason why all of this is not working. And there may be some accountability in there, but the way that you are taking accountability makes you the victim. And that is not accountability. That is just punishment. And that is what a lot of people have been using accountability for, as a means of punishing you for the poor decisions that you've made in the past, or being only focused on holding you accountable to those decisions instead of actually empowering you. Accountability is meant to empower you, meaning if I recognize that I am the author of the story that landed me here, I also recognize I can write my way right out of this thing. So what's a new narrative for those of you that live with this truth that everyone leaves me, it must be me, everything that I do fails, every relationship fails, or it ends up the same way? How about this one? I've survived loss, but I'm learning to stay present for myself. I'm worthy of relationships that feel safe and secure. That story that everyone leaves, I must not be worth staying for. If you continue to hold on to that narrative, what you don't understand, and this is something powerful that I gave you all the other day. When you add meaning to situations and circumstances in your life, you unconsciously start creating a reality to match that meaning. So when you say to yourself, everyone leaves me, I must not be worth staying for, or all my relationships fail, it must be something inherently wrong with me, you unconsciously start behaving in a way that makes that belief a fact. You unconsciously start filtering what you see, how you see it, what you hear, how you hear it, so that all the information that you are receiving matches that unconscious belief. I.e., you start to shape, form and alter reality to match your belief system. You're creating it. You're authoring it. Your new narrative: I've survived loss, but I'm learning to love and stay present for myself. I'm worthy of relationships that feel safe and secure. Even if I don't have it right now, that's the story that I tell myself. I'm not make-believing. I've acknowledged the past failures of my relationships, but I'm not letting the past failures, everyone leaves me, I must not be worthy to stay for. I'm not letting the past failures then dictate what to expect of my future. Do you see the difference? There is not a dismissal of what has happened to me. I've survived loss. I've acknowledged that those losses have happened to me. I've survived some tough failures in my relationships. I've acknowledged that, but I'm learning to love myself and stay present for myself, and I am worthy of relationships that feel safe and secure. That is what I now place before myself. That is now what I set my filters and my lens to. That becomes my red Porsche. Because I now possess this belief, I unconsciously start acting and believing in a way that brings this belief into my reality. That's just on a practical level. On an energetic level, because this becomes my belief, it then becomes the energy that I carry and that I omit. That energy that I omit becomes the force that attracts or repels certain things from me. Because I believe that I am worthy of a relationship that feels safe and secure, first of all, I must establish within myself the safety and security that I desire from someone else. But because I've established that this is what I believe I deserve, I'm aligning myself energetically to repel from me the things that don't align with what I am speaking for myself. What about those of us that struggle with these limiting beliefs around our careers, around success, because of our past traumas? You may tell yourself in an old narrative, I can't succeed. I always mess things up. Things always go wrong whenever I'm involved, or things don't seem to go right, or I never get chosen or picked for the promotion, or whatever limiting belief that you may have. Let me offer you this new narrative. My fear of failure kept me small, but my willingness to try is how I grow. Messing up means I'm moving forward. Failure only gives me another opportunity to learn and perfect my craft. I am no longer afraid of failure because failure teaches me how to be better. That simple change in the story, it doesn't negate the fact that I've had failures in my past. I don't have to pretend. Many people think this method of reframing is somehow having to pretend like the past never happened. No, it's simply saying that the past doesn't have to dictate my future. I can reframe the story that I tell about it. Jimmy says, or what love, happiness, or what success looks like to us, they could be limited to. Absolutely, Jimmy. And that's how the story controls and creates our reality. It becomes the dictator for what you see, what you believe, what you expect, and ultimately what you are unconsciously creating for yourself. How about those of you that may feel like you missed an opportunity at some point in your life, and now because that chance is gone, I missed my chance and it's too late for me? Maybe the things that I've messed up and all the many opportunities that I had when I wasn't mature enough, when I wasn't ready, maybe those things have passed me and now I just have to settle. Let me offer you this new narrative. There's no deadline on my growth. I am not late. I'm right on time for the life I am now ready to receive. I am right on time for the life that I am now ready to receive. So what does that do to my lens? It changes my lens to start expecting that this thing can happen for me. It changes my filter to start hearing where the opportunities are. For those of you that missed the red Porsche reference a second ago, this is an analogy that I often reference about this idea that if you go and buy a rare vehicle in a rare color that was one of a kind that you didn't see anywhere else, once you actually purchase that vehicle, all of a sudden you start seeing the same vehicle in the same color everywhere. How does this happen? Conscious awareness, meaning the moment that I possess a thing, I become more consciously aware of its evidence in the world. The moment that I possess a belief, I become more conscious of its evidence in the world. There's no deadline on my growth. I'm not too late. I'm actually right on time for the life I am now ready to receive. Immediately, my filter changes. Immediately, my energy changes. Immediately, I start to omit an energy that is different from this energy of disappointment. Immediately, my lens, my view of the world changes, my expectation changes. Immediately, I start to attract to me a different type of energy than the one that I was carrying before. This is the power that makes us the creators or the co-creators that we are. And we've been conditioned to not operate in this power, thinking that everything in our life is being influenced from the outside, not knowing that it is truly what is on the inside that is shaping the experience that we are calling our reality. Here's one that is very common. Many of us struggle with the identity and the self-worth narrative. I am too broken to be fixed. I am too far gone to be repaired. The things that have happened to me are too severe for me to ever be whole again. There is no hope for me. How about I offer you this narrative? I'm not broken, I'm healing. And the fact that I'm still here is proof that I'm whole enough to begin the process. Whew. I'm not broken, I'm healing, and the fact that I am still here is evidence that I am greater than the thing that tried to break me. What is your narrative? And do you understand or see how your narrative becomes the dictator of your life? Because if you believe you're too broken to be fixed, you won't even see all of the tool shops that you drive by. If you believe that it's too broken to be fixed, you won't see all the mechanics that are standing on the side of the road. If you believe that it's too broken to be fixed, you won't be looking for a mechanic shop. You'll only be focused on finding a junkyard. Did that land for anybody? If you believe that it's too broken to be fixed, you're not looking for parts, you're not looking for a mechanic, you're not looking for a mechanic shop, you're only focused on finding a junkyard. And if you believe that your life is too broken to be fixed, you're not looking for opportunities, you're not looking for the next chance, you're not looking for the next window or the next door to open for you, you're only looking for a place to go and cry and whine and be over with. But what if you're not broken and you're just healing? And the fact that you're still here is the evidence that you're greater than the thing to try to break you. What if that becomes the narrative of your story? Instead of this thing happened to me, blah, 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 blah. What if the narrative is, I am still here, and the fact that I'm still here is evidence that I'm greater than X, Y, and Z? For those of you that carry the narrative that I'm just too much, and maybe I'm too much for people, or people just can't handle me, or whatever that old narrative is, let me offer you this. My emotions are valid. I was just in places that didn't know how to hold them. Do you understand, for some of you, you are literally picking the wrong people in your life because you think the right people, you don't deserve them? Do you understand that that belief of what you don't deserve becomes the character sheet that you use to pick the people that you allow in your life? Well, I don't deserve being loved, so I don't even put people that genuinely love me on the list of things that I desire. Because I don't deserve that. Why would I put it on my list? That's just going to lead me to the disappointment that I was experiencing when I desired it earlier in my life. So if I believe that I'm not lovable, I don't even put a lovable person on my list because that's not realistic for me. And even if I put it on my list, I don't realistically think I'm going to receive it. It just becomes a fainting hope. My belief becomes the dictator of the evidence that I see out in the world. Now let's get to the wound that is at the root of our childhood trauma for many of us. Is that parent wound or that family wound. I wasn't good enough for them to love me. If I was good enough, they would have loved me. I offer you this. They didn't give me what I needed, but now I can. And I am not limited to the love I didn't receive. They didn't give me what I needed, but now I can. And I am not limited to the love I didn't receive. I love myself like no one else can. I love myself like those who let me down should have. And if you are in the position where maybe you are the parent who feel now today I wasn't a good enough parent and I failed my children, I offer you this new narrative. I did the best I could with what I had, and now that I know better, I can model healing, not perfection. If you were the parent that went with the limited information that you had and you failed because of your own trauma that you held back then, the greatest thing that you can do for your children today is to heal right in their faces. Because in your healing, you will find that you will seek forgiveness, but not only seek it, but it won't be the forgiveness that holds them hostage that they must forgive you. It will be the genuine forgiveness that says, I recognize the error in my ways and I want you to see this so that you are not stuck thinking that it was your fault the way I thought it was mine. I'm not seeking your forgiveness because I want to be free and you must forgive me, but I'm seeking it because I don't want you to hold the same burden that I held. That's how we break what we call generational curses. And for those of you that hold the old narrative of some type of loss in your life where you believe, I should have done more, I didn't say enough, I didn't do enough, whether it be grief or whether it be just general loss, it's all my fault. Maybe you hold that narrative that there was something that you could have done or that you didn't do that would have led to a different outcome. And let me offer you this. I loved in the ways that I knew how. And now I honor the memory of my loved one by healing and not by punishing myself. This is one that I personally faced. There was a point where I believed I should have done more. Maybe if I did more, my son would still be here. Maybe if I said more, maybe if I pressed hard enough, maybe if I took some different actions, but I had to recognize that I loved in the way that I knew how and I gave what I knew from the perspective that I knew. And now I honor his memory not just by healing, but by building something meaningful through his legacy. That's what the power of reframing is. Your healing begins when you realize the story you've been living wasn't written by your highest self. And now it's time to let your higher self or your healed self write the next chapters. And this is exactly the work that we do every week in the Trauma to Triumph Healing Challenge. It's not just about helping you feel better. That's not the work that we do here. I'm not into helping you to feel better. I more so focus on teaching you how to reclaim your authorship, teaching you this method of healing so that you can have a skill that you can carry with you through your life. You'll learn how to identify those hidden narratives that are running your life, how to reframe the meaning, how to rewrite and rewire your nervous system, and how to reclaim your power. Right now, we just started this next 90-day challenge on April the 1st. Enrollment is still open. You can still use promo code Firm Decision 2025 to join and save a significant amount on your enrollment. If you're interested in enrolling in the Trauma to Triumph Healing Challenge, you can check out the link tree in my bio, or you can simply go to happyhealing.com. That's HAPPYHEALIN.com. We're going to send you your workbook that holds all 12 sessions right there so you can have it physically there to go through the sessions during our live Zooms and private sessions, or you can go through it during your own pace. So if you're ready to stop living the pain and start leading with purpose, then take that opportunity. Again, the link tree is in my bio, or you can simply go to HAPPYHEALIN.com and look for the Trauma to Triumph Healing Challenge. Let's get back to work briefly. You didn't choose what happened to you, but you can definitely choose the story that you live by. Just stop there for a second. Because it's not what happened to you that continues to impact your life. It's the story that you tell. It's the meaning that you add to it. So if that is the case and you can choose the story, then you can choose the outcome that you desire, because the truth is you're not broken. You're just overdue to edit the script. You're just working off of a script of somebody who was broken. I often say many of us think we're broken. You're just mismanaged. You just never learned how to manage this thing called life because your manager didn't get the proper training, but they were just given the job. I remember when I first became a father, one of the things that was most intriguing to me was the idea that I had to teach a young child how to love when I hadn't truly learned how to love myself. You don't need permission to change your story. You just need to decide. What's your choice? For those of you that have joined us on YouTube, I thank you for being a part of this very meaningful conversation. Please do like and subscribe to the page, as well as turn on your notification bell so that you can receive notifications whenever we post new content. I love you all, and as always, happy healing.